Hey, welcome back. I'm Bob. This is my 3D printing business. Today I want to do a quick video on my wonderful or not so wonderful experience with the Kobra, the Anycubic Kobra S1 combo system. So as you can see, I'm bamboo. I love my bamboos. I really have had no problems with them. Occasional clogged nozzle. And then Kobra comes out with these low prices on their things like the Kobra S1 combo, which looks like a wonderful printer. And when it prints, it is a wonderful printer. They're like $500 with an AMS, and the AMS has a heater built in and everything. I picked one up, when was it? September of last year of 2025. I've had nothing but problems with this printer. So dissatisfied with it. It may be a one-off, and I'm really curious if anybody else has had the problems I had and how they solved them. If they solved them, did Kobra help you? Did they replace it for you? Looking online, I see that the problems I've been having are pretty common. And a few people have gotten Kobra to replace their, Anycubic, I should say, to replace their printer. But I wanted to let everybody know my experience with them before you buy one, to be careful. So I picked this up in September of 2025. Used it for about 6 weeks, printed maybe 24 things on it, no problems whatsoever. My first thought was, for $500 with a heated AMS and everything, at those times the P1Ss were much more expensive. Since they've come out with the newer models, they've dropped these prices down to about the same with the original AMS. But it just seemed like a wonderful printer. I think I got mine for $429. It was actually a sale. Anycubic was running right on their website at the time. So I was very happy with this printer, and I was thinking about getting a whole fleet of them and outfitting my new business with those printers. About 6 weeks in, November 2025, I started getting the error 10409. It would print maybe 15 minutes into a print, maybe an inch up in layers, and then suddenly 10409. You had to turn the printer off, turn the printer back on, and it would resume, but the problem would come back an inch later and would keep doing that. And even if it did resume, usually then you have messed up layer lines, and it never looks right. It's very rare that you're going to resume a printer after a power failure and not have some kind of mark where it failed. Because when the power goes out, it may be failing in the middle of a line, and then it resumes in the next line, I believe. I think that's how the G code would work. And it just never looks right. So basically it's failed print. Contacted customer support, and they were very responsive, very quick to help. And they ended up sending me a first one thing they sent me was the printhead adapter board, which is behind the printhead. I'll show you a picture of that part here. And they also included the printhead cable. So they sent me both those parts. Of course, at that time, I did disassemble the printer. I did check all the cables. You run, a calibration test, a resonance test. You level a bed, of course, all those kinds of things. But error 10409, wouldn't have anything to do with that. But you do reseat all the cables. You check all those things. And I'm in the IT business, so I have no problems taking things apart and doing that kind of stuff. They sent me those two parts, put them in, didn't work. Contacted them again, and by the way, that was like coming from China, I think, so it took like 2 weeks. Contacted them again, and they said, all right, we'll send you the main motherboard, which is in the top right of the printer. I'll show you a picture of that as well. Put that in, problem went away. Okay, great, it happens sometimes. So put that in, everything was working. Couple weeks later, in January, started getting bad prints. It was just, the print was just horrible, put it that way. And you do all the calibrations, you run all the tests, even a new build plate just to be safe. You do all that stuff, still had all the same problems. Kept coming back with bad prints, everything was bad. But no error 10409 at that point. Started to disassemble it, found a cable that had desoldered itself, and I'm just looking down at my notes because I'm trying to remember what it was, what they called that part. So I'll show the part on the board here because I don't remember what they called that part, but it had to do with measuring, I guess, the extrusion level of the prints or the speed of the filament on the motor. Something to do with that. Replaced that part, still had horrible prints, realized that because of that part, the nozzle was totally messed up. It was all clogged up. I'll show you what that one looks like too. And then everything worked fine. Stopped working again a few weeks later. Ended up replacing the nozzle myself because the cleaning nozzle only worked a little bit. Bought a new nozzle, steelhead nozzle on Amazon, popped that in. Beautiful, I'm printing again. A week or two later, maybe a dozen prints later, now I'm back to error 10409 all over again. They're telling me, oh, we'll send you a new motherboard. At that point, who wants to deal with this anymore? So I've contacted them and said, no, this is a printer. I've had nothing but problems. You've sent me half a dozen parts. You've made me fix this thing 3 times already. I'm not fixing it anymore. I either want a new printer or I want a refund. So the last message I got from them was, we're going to have sales contact you and we'll see what we can do, because it's a big ordeal to replace the printer for you. Well, that's not my problem, right? Anyway, let me show you some of the stuff that I found over here, and then you guys can tell me what you think about their printers. So here's my Anycubic S1 combo system. So when I started having problems with this thing not printing, the first thing they did was send me the board that's behind the printhead. That's the printhead control board. All right, pop that in, didn't do anything. Waited again. Eventually they sent me the cable, which is the connector cable behind the printhead up to the main circuit board, which is not that little one you're seeing up there, but it's actually up in here behind this plastic piece. So then they sent me that board. That's this part here, without that cable. Popped that in, solved the problem. Everything started working great. Worked for a while, started having the same problem again. Disassembled the printhead to find this board, which you probably won't be able to see, but the one of the wires there desoldered itself. I know you could say it came off when I was disassembling it. I don't think so, but certainly possible. They sent me that. It seemed to work again. Then it started printing horribly, and then I found out it was because that cable was, I guess, controlling either the flow rate or the actual feeding. It's a feeding sensor of some kind for the filament. So that's what happened to the printhead. So bought a new steel nozzle printhead myself on Amazon, popped that in, worked for a few more weeks. Now we're right back to error 10409 all over again. So needless to say, I'm not happy. I'm not a fan of Anycubic right now, just not having good luck with them. And I do have another one over here, which has worked great. You know, just an old open printer, which I don't use anymore, pretty much because everything I do now I need enclosed. I'm working in a garage. It is climate controlled in here, or I should say temperature controlled. But having an enclosed printer is just the way you always want to go when you can. So I'm curious, has anybody else had the error 10409? Did you solve it? Did Anycubic solve it? Did it keep coming back over and over like mine? When they released these printers, I think they initially had some problems with them. And even though I bought mine many months later, I have a feeling they just sent me one from the first batch, because I've had nothing but trouble with this. So I'm really curious to see what Anycubic is going to do, if they're going to replace it or not. And I'm not making this video just to try and, scare Anycubic into treating me right because it's on YouTube, right? I really don't care about that. Certainly, this is a new channel. No one's going to see it except you few people who are watching. Thank you very much. Please subscribe. But I'm really curious if anybody else had the problem. How were they able to deal with it? Did they ever get it finally solved? There doesn't seem like there's anything else I can replace in there anymore, but that's where I'm at with that. So I don't plan on buying any more Anycubic printers for a little while, until I somehow can get my confidence back, because something like that, a bad experience like that, just turns you off, not just from that model, but from the whole company. Even though they're very responsive, if I can't rely on the damn thing to print, what good is it, right? So thank you so much for watching. See you next time.